the slicer. Now, why would we want to have a slicer? As I mentioned before, we have slicers. Slicers are like filters, yes? It's just a
Mm-hmm.
fancy filter, right? So
Yeah.
essentially, all we're doing is we're adding that to make sure that we can have a flow and a view of the change of the visuals that we have. So in the interest of time, I just want to show what the slicer will do when we change different things. So when we add everything together and we highlight that, let's say, for example, we add 2013 only. If you notice, it changes the view of the items or the visuals on the right-hand side, right? So if we remove quarter one, quarter two, and quarter three by calendar year, you notice that we're here and the visuals have changed as well, right? So we want to show how that is changing across the different visuals. And that's very important as you're looking across things. So for example, if you're in an executive management meeting and people really want to understand what is happening from a metrics perspective, why did this take place? What does it look like? How we can change it? What are we looking at? When you're digging into the deeper questions, that's when you actually start to leverage a slicer. If you notice, most of us who manage revenue, profit, targets, anything like that, filter
Yeah.
is our best friend, right?
Yeah, and these slicers have a lot of possibilities because, for example, and now it's 12 months, but if you have a list of 300 products, for example, you can add to the slicer a little search field that you can look for, look every product that contains this text, and then it
Right.
automatically shows the 5 products, right? So
That is
it's
true.
a very handy way to to filter all your visuals in one go, indeed. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but the
So,
interactivity, and I think you showed it before, but is also on the visuals. Eh? So if you select, for example, one of the products there, then also everything is updated, in the other ones, or is
I
it?
notice it's not happening here. But you know
Oh,
what? We
okay.
can
We'll
fix
fix
that
it.
another time.
All
All
right.
right, so let's add the slicer. Let's add the slicer in. So I'm going to select this. It's actually right here. So if you notice, let me tell you, this one caught me too. Okay. Just look for a little funnel, and that's the slicer visual. That
Yeah,
is how
filter.
I
Yeah,
managed it, right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
you carry it over here, right? And you can actually use that one now. So what we're going to do, so let's just look back at what's in the slice. So what are we managing here? We're managing date.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's be clear. There's no year and month here. There's a year sum and stuff like that. But we're essentially just managing date. So when you click on this slicer here, you notice that we have date. So we're managing date. So what we're going to do now is over here, we're going to select date from the calendar table and we're going to drag it all the way down, right? And then once we have that, if you notice, everything starts with a table and you like to do that. For those of us that come from a database background or not, that's fine. Your table is a great reference that you're on the right track, right? Then you select the slicer. So if you notice right here, we have it by quarter, right? So if you select quarter 4 and quarter 3, you notice all the visuals have changed, right? So what we can also do now is when we want it to look like just year and month in this section here, so getting to know this visual section, when you click here, you have year, quarter, month, and date. What we can take off quarter and day. We may not want that type of detail. We want it by year and month. Why? Maybe this executive team or team in general is a little more granular by month. Maybe they're getting into the details by month. So when you select, for example, August and September, if you notice here, I'm just gonna select multiples. If you notice, all the visuals have changed. So you have a view of how the sales fluctuated over a quarter and a month, right? And what it looks like, yes? So let's go into, for example, the first quarter of the year, right? The first quarter of the year, as you can see, was a little slow for these particular items but then for Paseo it was pretty good. So maybe this is the cheapest one. It could be that, right? Because in certain areas, the beginning of a year actually is a little rough for people because they would have just ended the holiday season. Yes. So you have January, February, March. Let's look at that quarter and see what's happening there. And if you notice, amarilla, which is actually, I think it's yellow in Spanish, right? You notice here there's an increase here. Small business bought a lot of VTT. So that's something to observe in the particular quarter. VTT was heavily bought. So you can see how you can get into some of those details, and that's how you can leverage analytics
And
to
that's the
really
nice thing
understand what is
about
going on.
Yeah, and that's the nice thing about Power BI. It's all visual. So you see in one go, you see these high bars. It would have been much harder to see that where you would have 25 numbers in a table there, right? Because then you would have to go
Exactly.
row by row. Oh, this is a high number and this. And people are
Exactly.
underestimating still how much easier it is to have a visual way of looking at your data. To
Right.
right away spot
Definitely.
the
It's very
examples you gave. Yeah.
important.
Yeah.
And I think also too what is very good about business intelligence is that it prevents this recency tendency that we tend to have as human beings. So when a quarter ends and
Mhm.
everybody may have bought Amaria, you feel that Amaria is the hottest thing. But then you may move to another quarter and then you'll find that there is a completely different item that is being purchased,
Yeah,
VTT.
for example. Yeah.
So when it prevents this view and this perspective of comfort for a particular product or a particular
Yeah.
experience,
Yeah.
because there is seasonality to purchasing.
And I really invite people who are watching this, just load a data set, play around with it, try it out, because Power BI is both fitting to do ad hoc analysis, and play around with new measures and new dimensions. And if you're happy with it, and you think, hey, this should be for now, be our executive report. Now you save it, and you can automatically let it be refreshed every week or every month. So it's both for static reporting and for trying things out and trying to find new trends or new dependencies or whatever. For both, it's fitting, and that's nice. You can do both.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So this is the end of my demo.